Hello, my name's Lizzie. I'm Anglican. In 4 months' time now, I'm going to be moving into a convent ready to become a postulant. And I am wearing skirts again for the first time in about 9 years or so. And here is why. I will hold your people in my heart. It's weird because, yeah, about 10 years ago or whatever, I only wore long skirts because I think it's because I've been in Kenya on my gap year and we lived in quite a rural area where for modesty it was expected that Christian women just always wore long skirts. Otherwise, if you wore trousers, apparently it gave the wrong message. Yeah, so I guess I just carried on that long skirt wearing when I came back to England. So my friends from uni will only ever remember me in long skirts and for a couple of years, even beyond that as well. And then for whatever reason, I decided to switch, and the last few years I've only ever worn jeans, to the extent that probably my friends from Leicester have probably never seen me in a skirt, apart from like the occasional wedding or something like that. Um, so I've kind of done a complete flip, and yeah, I suppose part of that was also, I mean, maybe just living in a city centre in a more urban environment. I don't know if that's affected how I dress, but mainly I rode a scooter until I crashed it. But I rode a scooter for a few years, and it was just a lot easier and better for me in terms of protection to wear jeans and this kind of jacket. So yeah, I suppose I just adapted to having to dress for scooters more than anything. Um, so yeah, it was going back to why I've suddenly started wearing long skirts. I don't know if I can show you one here. I don't know. You're not going to see much, but it's just an ankle length skirt. Um, but yeah, if you saw my video called "How Dating Pushed Me Towards Religious Life," you'll know that just a few months ago, for a while, I had a boyfriend for the first time in years, and it was through that relationship, I think God used that to actually eventually show me that, well, this is my sense anyway, that religious life is actually my vocation and not the whole um, route that ends in marriage. And I kept this young man that I was dating aware of the fact that I was starting to wonder if actually God was calling me to religious life instead of a future with him. And when it became clear that or once I knew that I was going to be becoming a postulant later this summer, that was when it the repercussion of that was that we would have that meant that there was no way that we could have a boyfriend girlfriend kind of relationship anymore, and overnight we would have to drop down to only being friends again, which is easier said than done, especially if you haven't kind of like broken up, in a bad, in like a bad upsetting way. Like if you're still really close and everything, it's um, obviously that makes it easier to be friends, but it's also tricky to drop down from like being in a more romantic relationship to only friends. So when I came back from staying at the convent and having this conversation with them about the fact that they're happy for me to try things out with them as a postulant, for whatever reason, it just made sense for me at that point to almost overnight slightly change how I dress. And I think that was mainly because I thought it would just help with the sudden change of paradigm of, yes, I was in a more like dating kind of relationship, but now I have to be like very much not in a dating kind of relationship. So it was like a yeah, me suddenly wearing long skirts was symbolic of this very definite shift. And I think, I mean, I haven't asked him because I'm still friends with him. I still see him around. Um, so I don't know if it's helped him. I'm guessing it might have done, just that I look very different, and so it just psychologically, visually helps you. Just kind of says like we're no longer in that style of relationship. We're only friends. But I found it useful for those kinds of reasons. But also, some of my friends and my colleagues and managers even have said that they found it quite useful too, because it's not very many months until I become a postulant and leave Leicester and leave my jobs and everything. And so other people have just been telling me that it's just helped them. It's helped seeing them like dressing maybe a tiny bit more like a nun or something. Not that I'm deliberately trying to look like one, because I'm only becoming a postulant, but yeah, I suppose a skirt is more nun-like than jeans. But yeah, they said that it's helped them. What's the phrase I'm looking for? Kind of not come to terms with it, because that sounds too negative. It's helped the reality sink into them that I'm going to be leaving in a few months, and it's helped them maybe picture me as potentially becoming a sister. By the way, I don't know about other communities, but I'm pretty sure the one that I'm looking at, and I'm pretty sure other ones I know, there's no set clothes for being a postulant. You just wear whatever you wear normally. So it's not there's no rule saying you've got to wear a skirt to be a postulant. This is just me, yeah, for the reasons I've explained, just deciding to. But I suppose I've watched lots of documentaries about like the Amish, and I love anything to do with minimalism. And oh my goodness, my dream is honestly to own as few clothes as possible, because it just annoys me having to have so many different clothes for different seasons and different occasions. So I envy like when I just watch people who are minimalist, or things like Amish documentaries, as you do. I just love the how they live with just so few clothes. And I have watched lots of YouTube documentaries about different orders, and they've tended to be Roman Catholic American ones. And some of the ones I've watched, even the postulants do have a kind of uniform, like a white blouse and a black skirt, or a grey skirt, or navy or something. I suppose it looks a bit like school uniform. I suppose because when you're a postulant and a novice, you kind of are, especially a novice, you are a student nun, kind of, like, so to speak. I just maybe that's seeing those kinds of outfits is also it also appeals to me, like how they just dress in just a simple blouse and skirt. Again, not because it's not like I'm trying to look like a nun so much as it's more just I love anything practical when it comes to clothes, and anything minimal. And going back to my school days, I was quite happy owning a few white blouses, 2 jumpers, and 2 skirts. And just if it was cold, you wore your jumper. If it was summer, you just wore your white blouse, and it was just so simple. And that's kind of how I've started dressing recently, and I just love having so few clothes. So if anything, how I might like my blouses and lack of jumpers and stuff and tops, that's not so much me trying to look like a nun or anything, or there's no symbolism behind that. That's just I love the idea of owning as few clothes and as simple clothes as possible, because yes, minimalism, yes, is what I aspire to.